Good morning, boys and girls. I'm Eleanor Hawkins, and welcome to Telestory Time. You know, today is a very special day. It's the 4th of July and the 239th birthday of our wonderful United States. And now I really want to remind each of you to join our summer reading program at any of the libraries in the Craven, Pamlico, Carteret Regional Library System. Our theme this year is Bam, Pal, Read. Every hero has a story, and you can have a very good time practicing your reading during the summer months. And be sure and tell your parents that you want to join the summer reading program at your public library. And now, boys and girls, it's time for me to read to you. And our very first story this morning is entitled, Mr. Wishing Went Fishing. Mr. Wishing was a funny little man who lived in a house by a sea. It was a tiny house with just one room. Mr. Wishing swept and dusted it every day. And after he made the bed and washed the dishes, Mr. Wishing would look at it proudly. "It's the most ship-shape room a funny little man ever had," said Mr. Wishing to himself. Now, one day, someone gave Mr. Wishing's house a present, a beautiful blue check tablecloth for the table. Thought Mr. Wishing, I must get a nice glass bowl to put on the tablecloth in the center of the table. So the very next day, he hurried to the store and brought back a big glass bowl. "This is just the thing," said Mr. Wishing to himself. But when he put it on the blue-covered table, it did look empty. "I know," cried Mr. Wishing. "I'll catch a fish to live in my big glass bowl on the beautiful blue check cloth on my table." He snatched up his fishing pole and his net and hurried out to catch his fish. Now, the first fish he caught was too big for the bowl, so Mr. Wishing put him back in the sea. The second fish was so tiny that he got lost in the big glass bowl. Mr. Wishing had to hurry him right back to the water with his fish mother. The third fish was just the right size. Mr. Wishing chose him for his pet and named him Skipper. Now, Skipper was a very happy fish. He liked Mr. Wishing, and he liked the ship-shaped little room. But best of all, he liked the big glass bowl he lived in. But a day came when Mr. Wishing noticed that Skipper looked a little sad. He didn't eat all the crumbs from Mr. Wishing's breakfast cornbread, and he didn't swim around the bowl doing flip-flops as he usually did to make Mr. Wishing laugh. "Poor Skipper," said Mr. Wishing. "He's lonesome living all by himself in his big glass bowl. I must see what I can do for him." And out he ran with his fishing pole and net. Pretty soon there was a nice starfish in his net. Mr. Wishing put the starfish in the bowl with Skipper. Oh dear, Skipper didn't like the starfish at all. He swam around and splashed the water with his tail until Mr. Wishing was all wet. Take it away," Skipper cried. "It's all pointy and stickery, and I don't like starfish at all." Of course, Mr. Wishing took the starfish out of the bowl right away and put it back into the sea. But Skipper was still lonesome, so Mr. Wishing had to go fishing again. And this time he caught a crab. "Maybe Skipper will like this crab," said Mr. Wishing, and he put the crab into Skipper's big glass bowl. Skipper didn't like the crab either. He swam around and around and beat the water so hard with his tail that even the blue check tablecloth got splashed. "Take him out, take him away," cried Skipper. "I don't like crabs. He's fussy and grouchy, and he snaps at me. Take him away, please take him away." Poor Mr. Wishing had to take the crab right back to the sea, where he swam far, far away without looking back even once. Now Skipper was just as lonesome as he had ever been, and he stayed in the bottom of his bowl moping. There just must be some fish Skipper would like to play with and have for his friend, thought Mr. Wishing. He took his pole and net out fishing once more. Now this time Mr. Wishing couldn't seem to catch a thing. Oh, it grew late and the waves got higher and higher. Oh dear, cried Mr. Wishing. I do wish something would come along. Just then, swoosh, a big wave lifted Mr. Wishing's boat up, and over it went, spilling Mr. Wishing right out into the water. First he went way down, and the water tumbled him this way and that. Then, with a big splash, the waves tossed him up on the shore. Oh dear, said Mr. Wishing. What an embarrassing thing to happen to a seafaring man like me. I must hurry home and get dry. Mr. Wishing was just starting to dry his face when he felt something hard in his right shoe. Oh, it was a beautiful little seashell. Might as well take off my left shoe too, thought Mr. Wishing. Why, it's full of nice white sand. Just then something tickled the back of his neck. Well, dear me, it's a bit of bright green seaweed, said Mr. Wishing. And then a very strange thing happened. Mr. Wishing's cap jumped off his head all by itself and started to flop across the floor. Oh, my stars, cried poor Mr. Wishing. Cap, come back here. Here, Cap. Here, Cap. He ran after the cap and picked it up. And what do you suppose? There was a fish in it. Mr. Wishing put the fish into the bowl with Skipper. He poured into the bowl the clean white sand, and he put the beautiful seashell on top of the sand. And then he planted the bright green seaweed. Skipper was happy again. At last he had a friend to play with, and the seaweed, the seashell, and the sand made his bowl seem just like home to him. Mr. Wishing called the new fish Flipper, and Flipper and Skipper lived happily in the big glass bowl. Now, in the evenings, Mr. Wishing sits beside the table. Skipper and Flipper do all their tricks for him, and Mr. Wishing laughs until he shakes. Oh, I'm a lucky, lucky man, says Mr. Fishing, to have two pets like Skipper and Flipper and my ship-shape little room. And that, boys and girls, is the story of Mr. Wishing Went Fishing. And now stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a moment to read from our Big Do You Know book. Stay tuned. now, boys and girls, I'm going to read from our Big Do You Know book. Do you know all about the 4th of July? Do you know the United States of America was born on July the 4th, 1776? Do you know the United States celebrates its birthday on July the 4th, which commemorates the signing of the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania? Today is the 239th birthday of our great country. Do you know the Declaration of Independence was written by Thomas Jefferson? Do you know Thomas Jefferson died on July the 4th, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the nation he helped to conceive? Do you know on July the 4th, 1884, the United States received an important birthday gift from France, the Statue of Liberty? Do you know the Statue of Liberty was built in Paris? It was then disassembled and packed in 214 large wooden crates for shipment to these United States. Do you know in the 1980s the Statue of Liberty, after a very large fundraiser, had major repairs, and a grand opening ceremony was held on October the 28th, 1986. Boys and girls, celebrate today, the birthday of our country, by having a very good time, seeing the fireworks, and maybe having a big cookout. And now let me remind you, be sure and join the summer reading program at your library, any of the libraries in the Craven, Pamlico, Carteret Regional Library System. Join the summer reading program and have a great time. And now stay tuned, and we'll be back with another story in just a moment. And now, boys and girls, I'm going to read you the story, The Surprise Doll. Mary lived in a little house overlooking the ocean. Mary had big brown eyes, a nose that went up like this, eyebrows that went up like that, hair as yellow as butter, and cheeks that were pink from the sun and the wind. And when she smiled all over her face. Mary's father was a sea captain. He took long trips across the ocean in his ship. From her window, Mary waved goodbye to him when he sailed away. And from her window, she waved hello to him when he came sailing back. 6 times he came back with a doll for Mary. So she had 6 dolls from 6 different countries. First there was Susan, who had cheeks that were pink from the sun and the wind, and she came from England. Sonia had a nose that went up like this. She came from Russia. Teresa, who had big brown eyes, came from Italy. Lang Po, who had eyebrows that went up like that, came from China. Katrinka, who had hair as yellow as butter, came from Holland. And Marie, who smiled all over her face, came from France. Now there were Mary's 6 dolls, and she loved them very much. But one day she said to her father, "I have a doll for every day in the week but Sunday. Please, please won't you bring me a Sunday doll?" "No, my dear," said her father. 6 dolls are enough for any little girl." But they weren't enough for Mary. So one morning Mary hopped out of bed. She dressed herself. She dressed her dolls. She put all the dolls in her little red wagon. Then Mary went out of her house and down the hill. Finally, she came to the shop of the doll maker. The doll maker was working away, busy as a bee, but he stopped when Mary and her dolls came in. Mary said, "I am Mary, and these are my 6 dolls, Susan and Sonia, and Teresa and Lang Po, and Katrinka and Marie. I came to see you because I need a 7th doll, a doll for Sunday." Now the doll maker looked at Mary. Then he looked at her dolls. And then he looked at Mary again. And he gave a great big jolly laugh. "Certainly I will make you a Sunday doll," he said, "but you will have to leave your 6 dolls with me while I work, and in 7 days it will be ready." In 7 days it will be ready, and he prepared for a surprise when you come to get it, a real surprise, and he chuckled as he went back to work. So Mary left her dolls at the doll maker's, and she took her empty wagon over the bridge and through the woods and up the hill and back home again. Now she counted the days off on her calendar. Oh, it was a long time to be without any dolls at all. After 7 days, she went back to see the doll maker. There were Susan and Sonia and Teresa and Lang Po and Katrinka and Marie. And there was Mary's new doll. It was a surprise doll. Now, can you guess why? Well, the new doll had cheeks that were pink from the sun and the wind, like Susan and like Mary, and a nose that went up like this, like Sonia and like Mary, and eyebrows that went up like that, like Lang Po and like Mary, and eyes that were big and brown, like Teresa and like Mary, and hair that was as yellow as butter, like Katrinka and like Mary, and a smile all over her face, like Marie and like Mary. The surprise doll looked a little bit like every one of Mary's other dolls, and just like Mary. Oh, what a happy day that was for Mary. She named her Sunday surprise doll Mary Jane. And just like Mary, Mary Jane came from America. Mary gave a big tea party to celebrate. And that, boys and girls, is the story, The Surprise Doll. And now stay tuned, and we'll be back with another story in just a moment. And now, boys and girls, I'm going to read you the story, The Goddess of Liberty. And here, marking my page, you can see that I have a beautiful bookmark that is the Statue of Liberty with all the sparklers going around. On a little island in the busy waters just off New York City stands the largest statue in the world. It is the Statue of Liberty. Many years ago, it was given to the people of the United States by the people of France to show that the two great countries are good friends. The statue is a giant woman who represents the spirit of liberty. Sometimes we call her the Goddess of Liberty. She wears an enormous robe, and on her head is a crown. In one hand, she holds the torch high in the air. A torch is a kind of lamp. The light from the torch shines far out over the sea and is a guide for ships and airplanes. In her other hand, she holds a stone tablet on which is written the birthday of a great nation, the United States of America. The date is July the 4th, 1776. Now, if you visited this famous statue, and many people do every day, you would go by boat to the island. Then you would go inside the base on which the statue stands. The base is called a pedestal. There you would get into an elevator. Now, the elevator takes you up to the foot of the huge copper statue. Now you get out and start climbing the winding stairs that lead to the crown on top of the goddess's head. Now, if you count the stairs as you climb, you will count to 168. In the crown are many glass windows and a room for 40 people to stand. Through the windows, you can look out on New York Bay. The goddess has another set of steps that runs up the inside of her arm. It leads to the torch she holds aloft, and workmen go there to clean it and keep it lighted. The torch is large enough to hold 12 people. Everything about the goddess is huge. One of her fingers is 8 feet long. That is as far as it is from the floor to the ceiling in most rooms. Her nose is 4 feet long. That is about as tall as most of you 7 to 8-year-old boys. Her fingernails are larger than dinner plates. But wonderful as the Statue of Liberty is, even more wonderful is its meaning. It means that in the United States, people live in freedom, and the lighted torch the goddess holds is a symbol of liberty, shedding light on all the world. We often call the New York Harbor, where the statue stands, the doorway to the United States, because that is where many people coming from far across the ocean first arrive by boat. So, we can say that the noble Statue of Liberty stands at the doorway, holding high her shining light, guiding travelers home and welcoming the strangers who come from other lands. And that, boys and girls, is the story of the Goddess of Liberty, or what we call the Statue of Liberty. And now I want to read you this little story from my Happy Holiday book. The title of this story is Independence Day, July the 4th. Susie and Johnny had just returned home from watching a parade. They had seen soldiers marching and had heard bands play, and there was more fun to come. A ball game with Daddy in the afternoon, and a picnic in the evening, followed by fireworks. Johnny said, "I think the 4th of July is nearly as much fun as Christmas." "Oh, it is a wonderful holiday," said his father. "I wonder if you know its real name, not just the 4th of July name." Susie thought, "I know it is called Independence Day, but I don't know why it is called that." "I will tell you why," said Father. "We celebrate because way back in 1776, on this day, the leaders of our country signed a paper called the Declaration of Independence. The paper declared that our country would hereafter be free and not controlled by any other country across the ocean. The people had to fight a long, hard war to win independence under the leadership of General George Washington, and they were victorious. I'm glad our country is free," said Johnny, "and I'm glad we celebrate with so much fun." And that is the story of Independence Day, July the 4th. And now I would like to show you this little book entitled Celebrate America. Let's celebrate America, where eagles fly high, and liberty's torch lights the night sky. We hear the bells of freedom ring, and bands accompany the anthems we sing. The land of the free and the home of the brave. All through the night the flag still waves, with blessings from heaven above. And we celebrate the land that we love, and we enjoy the fireworks that we celebrate on our country's birthday. And that is the story, Celebrate America. And I hope we all will celebrate America today by seeing the fireworks tonight in your area. And so now, from Telestory Time and TV 12, we wish you a very happy 4th of July. Till next Saturday, this is Eleanor Hawkins saying bye-bye for Telestory Time.